These are the richest people in the world. They have the highest standard of living in a super welfare state which has abolished poverty and eliminated strikes, where everything and everyone works. Their country's avoided war for a century and a half. It's the oldest political unit in Europe and one of the largest, half as big again as Britain. The only country in the world where 7-year-olds attend lessons on sex, where divorce is by mutual consent, and in whose capital 1 marriage in every 3 ends that way. The only other European country to drive on the left, where everything, it's said, is organized except sleep. This could only be Sweden. What does Sweden mean to you? The highest standard of living in the world? The lovely clear-cut women, blonde and statuesque? The grandeur of majestic natural scenery of 96,000 lakes? Smorgasbord and aquavit, for Swedes eat and drink often and well. Ball bearings and telephones. Swedish industry is, of course, well-ordered and successful. For me, Sweden's all this, and especially design. Few ugly things are made by the Swedes, and not just the design of pots and pans, of furniture and fabrics, but of homes. We have our own new towns in Britain, I know, but here's a place in Sweden that makes them all seem strangely old-fashioned. This has been called the City of the Future. It'll be heated, lit, and powered by atomic energy. In fact, it has its own nuclear reactor. This is Farsta, a city suburb of Stockholm. And however one feels about having a nuclear reactor as a neighbor, this town of 10,000 dwellings for 35,000 people does have built into it a number of very sensible ideas. There's this bright central piazza, for instance. The Swedes are convinced that the old system of distribution with small shops scattered across a residential district is out of date, and that today's busy housewife needs one-stop shopping. To prevent her feeling out of it and suburban, here are branches of Stockholm's smartest department stores, grouped alongside the 3 biggest supermarkets in Sweden, and numerous pantry shops that it's easy to see into and out of. Everything's here, fresh, open and clean, within half a mile of each one of those 10,000 homes. Here's another good idea. The delivery lorries servicing those shops and stores don't intrude either. They use an underground road beneath the piazza, straight down to the unloading bays and warehouses in the basements. And once again, no road accidents, no parking problems, no inconvenience to anyone. This awareness of traffic danger runs right through Farsta, which has been so designed that children can go from their homes to one of the 6 schools or to the parks and playgrounds without ever having to cross a road. A complete system of subways has been built in, and each group of dwellings, 17-story block or row of terraced houses, each has its own safe playground under mother's eye. A 3-roomed flat in one of these blocks with central heating, cooker, 2 refrigerators cost £5 a week to rent. A 6-room flat, about £500 a year. And this in a country where a factory worker earns from 10 shillings to 13 shillings an hour. A young woman shop assistant, £15 a week. An office worker, £20, and a bus driver, £24 a week. A branch bank manager or a schoolmaster, around £1,500 a year. But the most modern, the most admired, and the most controversial innovation here is R3 Atom, Farsta's very own atomic power station, which will use as fuel 18 tons of Swedish uranium. By the time it's finished, R3 Atom will have cost £13 million. That's more than £1,000 per heated home, or enough to build, say, a dozen conventional power stations. So the Swedes are not building this one for economy. It's more of a national experiment. But despite official reassurance, not everyone at Farsta is delighted to have a critical nuclear reactor within a mile or 2 of home, however deeply it's buried. This is the reactor hall. How far down are we? How far beneath the surface?
Well, it's about 120 feet beneath the surface, and about 60 feet is solid rock.
And I see there's a steel lining to the roof here.
Yes, and also for the walls.
Farsta's reactor went critical in January, and its atom furnace will soon be supplying light and central heating, hot water and power for the 35,000 people of this first nuclear city. Wherever you go in Sweden, her standard of living, her prosperity hits you in the eye. This is truly an affluent society. Everything that America has, except America's slums. There's no west side of Stockholm. In the whole country, there are only 7.5 million people, 1 million fewer than the population of London. But so rich is this land, undisturbed by war for several lifetimes, so prosperous is Sweden, that the purchasing power of these few million is the equivalent of 5 times their number of Portuguese, 36 million Portuguese, or 21 million Italians. So they deserve to be courted. And courted they are, constantly, passionately, by every country's export salesman, except, it seems, ours. Britain's share of the rich market was 20% around 10 years ago. Today, despite EFTA, despite the European Free Trade Area and our exclusion from the common market, despite all the ballyhoo of the £2 million British trade fair held in Stockholm last year, our share has dropped to less than 15%. The German share last year was half as much again. Take motor cars, for example. The Swedes run more private cars per head of the population than any other people in Europe. There's a car for every 5 of them. With the diminution of our market in the United States caused by the success of the American compact cars, you'd think that our manufacturers would have concentrated their efforts in this lush field. But no, the Germans are pushing us off the roads. 10 years ago, 1 car in every 3 bought in Sweden was British. We had 34% of the registrations. Today, we've less than 10%. Less than 1 car out of every 10. Now that's a sad story, but let's take a quick sample here on this bridge in central Stockholm and see just what the Swedes are driving. Well, there's a Swedish Volvo, a Swedish Saab, that is another Swedish Volvo over there, a Swedish Volvo, a Peugeot 403, a Swedish Volvo, a big American Monster, a German Mercedes-Benz, a German Volkswagen, a German Ford truck, an English Zephyr, congratulations Ford, a Mercedes-Benz, a Panhard, a French Panhard, a Swedish truck, a German Opel truck, another Swedish truck, a German Opel, a Mercedes-Benz taxi, another Mercedes-Benz, a German Opel truck, and a Volkswagen. Well, in that lot, 1 British car, 1 Ford.